So I was feeling just tired and run down all the time, but not really putting together like, oh, it's because I have terrible sleep habits. I was just like, oh, I'm just old, right? That's just what happens. You just get tired all the
Right.
time.
Yeah.
And then I'd come across someone I follow on social media that's a trusted, Dan Go's his name's a trusted like health kind of advisor that I look to, and he said, hey, been taking my mouth for 30 days. And I was like, that is the most ridiculous thing I've ever seen. And I was like, that's stupid. And then I read about it, and then I just like, interesting. There's quite a bit of science behind it.
Well, Aaron, thanks so much for hopping on the call with us today. How are you doing?
I'm feeling good. Yeah, I'm doing good. Doing good. How are you?
I'm doing very well. I'm excited for
Nice.
this call.
Yeah,
We put
likewise.
out the call to see if people would like to come on, share their story, share their journey, their trials and their troubles that they were facing before, how they found hostage tape, and then where they're at now. What was it that inspired you to say, you know what, you want to hop on this call and want to share your story with us?
I think honestly, it's like the impact that hostage tape has had for me, and no, that's not overly dramatic, but like my life. So I very much resonate with. I'm an evangelist for those products that really do change my life, or that I really enjoy, that make it better. And so when the call was like, hey, if you want to tell more people about it, then I hopped on because it really has been something that's made my life better for real.
Dude, that's so awesome. I'm so pumped to hear that. Like, just congratulations first and foremost, because man, that's awesome. It's
Yeah,
so there are probably so few times in your life where you can say, you know, my life has changed right now, right?
yeah,
And to be able to say that, I mean, that's such an awesome thing to be able to have. So just congrats, man.
yeah. Appreciate it. Yeah,
Let let's get into the story then.
yeah.
What were you going through that led you to say, okay, I'm a mouth breather or I'm snoring at night? What trials were you had? What was the pain point that led you to say, you know what? I think I need to try this mouth taping thing out.
Yeah, so my I come from a long line of bad sleepers, or so I thought, right? And just like, oh, my mom just she'll wake up at 2 a.m. to go to the bathroom, and she's like, oh, I lied awake all last night, and just I thought was my lot in life as I got older. My sleep wasn't super great. I discovered hardcore last summer pickleball for the first time, and it was like I played
Nice.
every morning at like 5:30 a.m. I got up at like 4, and I was getting like 4 hours of sleep but I was like, I don't care, I love pickleball. So I was just like running ragged, and thinking I was doing the right thing for my body and playing and getting exercise and stuff. But I'm in my 40s, early 40s now. So as I get older, I was like, man, I can't get away with that anymore. So I was feeling just tired and run down all the time, but not really putting together like, oh, it's because I have terrible sleep habits. I was just like, oh, I'm just old, right? That's just what happens. You just get tired all the
Right.
time.
Yeah.
And then I'd come across someone I follow on social media that's a trusted, Dan Go's his name's a trusted like health kind of advisor that I look to, and he said, hey, been taking my mouth for 30 days. And I was like, that is the most ridiculous thing I've ever seen. And I was like, that's stupid. And then I read about it, and then I just like, interesting. There's quite a bit of science behind it, maybe. And then I just started kind of going down the rabbit hole of learning about it, and thought this could actually be something that could help me to get my sleep kind of under control.
Yeah. Yeah, that's super cool. It's funny how like just your first reaction is like, that's dumb. That's stupid. And
Yeah,
then once you start looking at it, it's like, oh my goodness, like why have I not heard of this information before? Why have I not heard this thing before? It's such a crazy thing that is so easy to stop. Like mouth breathing it's so common and it's so simple to stop it, and yet it's like, why is no one else talking about this? And it's funny just the reaction of that's stupid versus you do a little bit of digging and some reading, and it's like, oh my god, this is the most important thing I can do in my life right now. Like
yeah.
throw out exercising, it's like I got to figure out my sleep first and foremost. That's really cool.
That's 100%. Like all those thoughts, I think every one of them went through my head. It was just like, wait, if this is this impactful. Why aren't people talking about this? Like, why is this something that I hadn't even seen until like 6 months ago? I'm like, why is that the case? And it is such a simple, like seemingly simple solution. And and so as I got older, like I started snoring more, which also affects your sleep and so all those things. And so I like, but that I had been talking to my dad. My dad he's 72, and he has a CPAP machine, and he's like sleep apnea, all this kind of stuff. And so him and I were talking about sleep, and there's a study that I was it was some journal paper in the UK, like a 50-year study on people, and found that basically anyone that had like heart disease, anyone that had any kind of an ailment, like a sickness, was because they didn't sleep well enough. And so I was just like, man, I
Yeah.
just have to figure this out. And so I had been kind of looking, but then again, discovering it, but then seeing all the science behind it and just all the benefits of it. That was one of my first questions. Like, why aren't people talking about this? I don't understand. I still don't understand it. That's why I'm like, I'm happy to come on and
Yeah.
share my story. If more people can understand about the impact it can have, then great.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, it's just crazy how so few people know about it, so few people talk about it. It's definitely a growing movement, that's for sure. And I'm not even sure if it's one of those things where it's like you never see an orange car until you think about it, and then you're like,
Mm-hmm.
man, every car seems to be that color, right? But it's definitely starting to gain some traction. But yeah, it's crazy. I mean, even from like the pro athlete level, so few people know about this that your mouth is not for breathing, your mouth is for speaking, eating, all that stuff. But you
Mm-hmm.
got to put that nose to work.
Yep.
Yeah, it's crazy. So yeah, you coming on, sharing your story, absolutely, man. Like we just start to spread that word and change as many lives as possible.
Absolutely.
What was the first night, couple nights, first week of using hostage tape like? Like take us through.
Mm-hmm.
All right, you're putting it on for the first time. What are your thoughts? And then just waking up in the morning. Yeah, how did it go for you?
Totally. So I actually gave one to my wife, and just to see if she tried it. She's like lasted like 30 minutes. She's like, I couldn't breathe. And so I was like, man, I'm really nervous
Right.
about it. Like maybe and I have been sleeping with like a weighted blanket for several years. That was probably my first like sleep enhancement probably thing I did. And then I got a pillow cube because I'm a side sleeper. And so I've been trying all these things to like invest in better sleep. Um, and then I had like like a breathe right strip on my nose to try to open it up, so I was a little nervous that maybe I'm going to be stuffed up or whatever. And I
Yeah.
put it on, and like as soon as I put it on, I was just like, this actually feels super comfortable, and it felt like totally. I just like felt like calm, and I felt like this is actually really comfortable. And that first night's sleep was I actually was talking to a friend today about hostage tape and and telling him about how the first night was. It was like the best way I can describe it is when you're super sick and you just like crash and sleep so hard and you wake up like, man, I feel like I don't even know what happened, but like I slept like 9 hours. That's what I felt like, and I do not remember the last time I had felt like that. And so
Yeah.
that was like, oh, there's something definitely here. And then as I did it, the more and more I did it, I started having like more vivid dreams, and like research like, oh, that's because you're in the REM state of sleep more often. Um, and then the probably one of the most interesting kind of like I don't know, benefits, consequences, whatever you want to call it, is I don't really even use an alarm clock anymore. I will honestly like set my mental alarm. I want to make up at 6, and there's been several nights where it's like 6:00 on the clock when I wake up, and it's just like my body knows like, yeah, that's the it's time to get up. Like I've slept really well, and so that's probably been the most interesting and maybe unexpected consequence. But it's been there's been randomly a couple times I've had dreams where I was chewing gum and like I was like blowing bubbles and I could feel it on my lips, and so like my tongue almost tried to push it off, but that
Right.
was super weird and random. That's the only thing I've experienced that was like I could even consciously or subconsciously even know I had it on when I was sleeping.
Yeah. Dude. Yeah. That's just so awesome, man. Like it's just crazy. And the comfort thing when you throw it on, and I've said this 100 times, but it sounds so strange to somebody who hasn't worn it before. But you
Mm-hmm.
throw that tape on, and like it's just so comfortable. I mean,
Yeah,
it's I don't know, it just is really comfortable. It's crazy.
yeah. It's funny.
What?
Like there are times where well, like with the weighted blanket, again, that was the first thing I did. I would put it on and just like give myself a little bit of a half smile. It's like it's like a warm hug, and like hostage tape was the same way. I put it on and was like, this just feels like comforting, and so that was 100% how it felt for me that first night.
Yeah, that's awesome. What was your wife's what was her thought after the first night of you wearing it? Obviously, like you probably slept better, less tossing turning. Did she notice that she slept better? Was she just happy that you made it through the night alive? What was her reaction?
Yeah, no, yeah, she totally. Because so I one of a this is totally unrelated to hostage tape. I'll give some free marital advice. One of the best things you can do is get separate blankets, because I apparently was like a blanket thief and was like toss and turn and like grab the blanket and like roll over really aggressively. So that has helped definitely. We did that years ago. We got the separate blankets, but I would wake up and like my sheets would be like pulled up almost coming off because I was tossing and turning all night. And so one of the first things that she said was like, you didn't really even move. And so I wasn't tossing and turning. My sheets were like exactly where they were when I went to sleep for the first time, and couldn't even remember. And so, yeah, she definitely noticed how I was way more still, and I moved way less with the hostage tape on.
Right. Yeah. Yeah, just less tossing turning. I'm a separate blanket guy myself, my wife and
Yeah.
I. And honestly, like just not fighting for it, anything like that. I don't know.
Yeah.
I just find it works out pretty well. Yeah.
Yeah. King bed,
Now,
separate
now
blankets will save a marriage for sure.
there you go.
Yeah.
Now you mentioned that you were talking with a buddy of yours earlier on the call. So it's cool that like you're comfortable with sharing the fact that one, you were a mouth breather, two, you're starting to do this crazy health thing of taping your mouth shut. What was your buddy's reaction? Maybe family, friends, what were their reaction? Just to hearing what you've started doing and then your success with it.
Yeah, I think that the initial reaction is like, oh, I don't know if I could do that. Like, it just seems like if I would feel, I don't know if I would feel comfortable doing that. And I said, hey, I thought the same thought. But I just share with them, hey, like this has helped me significantly. And again, I was already thinking about how can I make my sleep better. Anymore. I'm just super bougie when I go to sleep because I have a face mask on. I have my nose strips. I have my hostage tape. I have my weighted blanket. I have my pillow cube, and I'm just like, I'm like, that's just.
Dude,
But I
yeah.
sleep so well now, and so it's I just preach the importance of sleep, and that for your body to properly recover. It's not just about not feeling tired. It's like, just certain things are only even happening while you're sleeping. And anymore, probably turning 40 for me was just more thinking about how do I keep my body feeling well, while so I can be active as long as I want to be. And I feel better now than I did a decade ago. Honestly, I feel great.
Yeah.
I feel really really well, and I think that sleep is a big huge part of that, and hostage tape is definitely the biggest part of that.
Yeah. Yeah, for sure. Absolutely. Have you noticed any benefits that you maybe thought weren't going to come through mouth taping? Obviously, there were the pain points that you talked about, like why you started mouth taping. But has there been anything like, increased energy throughout the day or better eating, that sort of stuff? Have you noticed anything along those lines?
Yeah, I think that I think increased energy throughout the day. Yes, I think the one probably the biggest difference I felt is how I feel first thing in the morning, and I'm a big like morning routine person, so it's like win the morning, win the day kind of a thing. So you know, I I you know I have a lot of things that get done before anyone in my house wakes up, and so when I was getting up at 5:30 or 5 in the morning to kind of get all the things that I need to get done, I feel like just sluggish and groggy, and that was what it was. So the energy I have in the morning, like first thing, is like I feel like I'm invincible. Like I get up right away, and I do my thing, and I get a lot done before anyone in my house even wakes up. And so and it's way more like effective and way more powerful work I do in the morning than it was before. That's probably,
Yeah.
I feel great throughout the day, and that to me I kind of expected, but how well I feel like first thing in the morning, I think was a huge benefit that I wasn't necessarily even expecting.
Yeah. And even you mentioned before, like no alarm clock. There's nothing
Yeah.
worse than like that alarm clock ringing, you're exhausted, you're kind of like jolted awake, and then the first hour and a half, all you can think about is going back to bed. But
Mm-hmm.
when you just get a good night's sleep and you hop up and you're ready to go, like you said, win the morning, win the day, absolutely. I mean,
Mm-hmm.
just being able to get so much stuff done and feel so good, you just can't put a price on it. Like it's crazy. And
Yeah.
as someone who hasn't experienced it, it's tough to give them a taste of what it like. It's you can tell and tell and tell, but it's like, man, until you go out and do this, you're just not going to feel as good. And when you do, like you're an addict, you're not going to be able to go back to feeling
Mm-hmm.
sluggish and tired in the morning. You're not going to want to go back to mouth breathing. That's the main thing
Yeah.
I've noticed
Mm-hmm.
is just thinking back to what it used to be like, and just saying like, there's no way I'll ever go back to that. It was so terrible.
Oh yeah, and like, and the one of the other benefits is just like, not waking up with just super dry mouth, and just having that your mouth be in better condition, and when you wake up. And so yeah, I mean, I'd wake up and you're just like, I feel like I ran a marathon, like, cotton mouth, and you're just like dry, and it's you. That would be partly why I felt terrible always waking up. But with the taping, you don't, because you're not breathing through your mouth. You don't have that like dry kind of mouth feel, and that also, I think, honestly, that would sometimes almost like make me nauseous in the morning before, like having that kind of like dry. Got to go get some water and try to like even just like get any kind of hydration going. But um, that's also been something that I think's helped me to feel really well first thing in the morning. Is that, and I'd seen that in the science and some of the benefits of mouth taping, but I hadn't. That was like actually like, oh man, that actually made a bigger difference than I thought as well.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. Well, Aaron, I just want to say thank you so much for this. I really appreciate you coming on to share your story. It's through people talking, through people sharing their stories that we're going to put the word out there. Like you mentioned before, there doesn't seem to be too much talk about it, and it's such an important thing that, like you said, changes lives and changed your life absolutely. So, just thanks so much for this. I really appreciate it, and I'm pumped for you, man. I'm pumped that you found this. I'm pumped that it's working so well. So that's awesome. Congratulations to you and to your
Thank
wife.
you.
I'm sure she's pretty happy now that you're not, tossing, turning, stealing blankets, all that sort of stuff. So
Yeah. No, I appreciate the opportunity to share the message, because it really has truly helped my life. So yeah, thanks for having me on.